Go StreamYard, go. There we go. What is happening, everybody? It is time for the final NBA Live Before Lock of the regular season. It is the actual final slate here. It is going to be total chaos. So did have some interesting decisions that we had to make here because the DraftKings main slate locks at 1 p.m. Eastern time. The FanDuel main slate locks at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. So we had to look at which site was going to offer the bigger contest, and it was DraftKings. So DraftKings ended up winning out. Would have been really convenient if they just locked both slates at the same time, but no. We couldn't get that kind of convenience on what is the most chaotic slate of the season. If you guys do have any questions for us at all as we go here, leave a question. Hit us up in Discord if you're a Stokastic sub. If you want to leave us a super chat, you can do that as well. Always on the lookout for those. Do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's been a good NBA season, and why not finish it out with some nonsense? And there's no better way to deliver you nonsense than myself and Eric hang out on a Sunday afternoon. So Eric, what's up, dude?
Not much. Trae Young ruled out. We're going to get so many ruled outs over the next 59 minutes. It's absurd. There's a guy from Atlanta I talked about a second ago, Torian Prince out. I mean, this is just going to get silly all day long. What's nice is at least it's all Eastern Conference teams early. So like we're looking for raw fantasy points. We're looking for guys with pulses who have great fantasy point per minute rates. We're looking for those type of things. And I think that's kind of what our tools are identifying as well at the moment. Obviously, minutes projections are going to be very, very, very fragile. And you have to take it with a grain of salt. And you have to understand that there is going to be massive volatility on this slate relative to other slates. But that usually breeds opportunity. So I'm actually excited to talk through this one with you. I think we might be able to find some bets here at Portfolio EV as well. Things that are popping up there. NoVig Profit X for the California folks, the Texas folks. Everything should be lovely and rocked and ready for us to go. But from a DFS perspective, hold on to your butts.
And speaking of Portfolio EV, if you guys do want a 7-day free trial, link down below in the YouTube description box. We've got the play-in games upcoming next week. We've got the playoffs coming shortly after that. Baseball is underway. So it is a good time to be signing up for Portfolio EV because when you get that stability with something like the play-in games, NBA playoffs, where rotations are pretty similar on a day-to-day basis, things along those lines, that's where a market-based algorithm could really do some big damage. So sign up at Portfolio EV and no risk, 7-day free trial for the first 7 days that you guys sign up for our tools. Now, one thing that we should talk about as well is the players who are still questionable. We did get confirmation that Quentin Grimes is going to be in. So that's good to know because he is currently projected for a crisp 82% ownership. So if he would have gotten ruled out, well, that really would have changed a lot as far as the slate goes. We still have starting lineups to come, and that is something that's going to matter more than ever over the course while we're on this, because you don't know what any of these starting lineups can end up looking like. We still have some players that are notable who are questionable, or at least notable relative to this slate, because kind of anybody whose name you recognize probably matters for today. Is that a fair way to talk about it?
Yeah, that's probably true, because it's like, why are they playing? What are the purposes that we have here? I mean, that's where, like, I do think the ownership on a guy like Quentin Grimes is just going to get absurd, because people just get really uncomfortable not clicking on that button. And I kind of do too. You just look at like what his PRA is across the entire industry from a betting perspective. And like, he's just somebody that you're going to be spending up for. And yeah, if you recognize names that are actually playing today, there's got to be a reason they're getting extra run. But like, I'm just basically going in, looking at PRA of each of these guys, 34.5 to 36.5, kind of where Grimes is sitting across the entire industry. I'm not saying I want to bet him, but like, just relative to the rest of the slate, whereas you might have tons of those type of dudes on any given slate where it's going to be very small differentials there. That's by far the most that I'm looking at. I don't see anybody who's remotely close to that on the slate. So as things are getting updated, and you can see it there, 92% optimal now, 82% ownership for him. Those are the kind of guys where it's like, I'm playing one lineup for the early set. I'm going to play maybe a lot more on this Western Conference slate where the games have a little bit more at stake. We have some pricing discrepancies where we can kind of take advantage. And then obviously there's value everywhere on everything. Like, you can't even use your salary on this slate. You just can't. So accept it.
Yeah, I'm actually curious to see. Yeah, so when I ran my stuff through the Sims, this is really funny. My second best projected lineup by Sim ROI, Eric. I'm gonna let you guess. How much salary do you think it leaves on the table? My second best overall projected lineup by Simulated ROI.
So my lineup currently has $5,600 on the table. So I'm gonna say I'll just say 6,000.
$5,300
Okay,
in
there
salary
you go.
left on the table. It's
There
a
you go.
lot. I do have some lineups that use a lot of the salary, but then I look at other of my top lineups and it's like $5,000, 3,000, like just crazy amounts of stuff that you would never consider for anything other than like a showdown slate for NBA. But to your point, you can't really fill the salary even if you wanted to. And part of the reason is because you get some of these crazy situations, like somebody in chat, who was it? James Sampson asked, why does Jeff Doughton have a 0 projection today? His contract expired. And the 76ers, just to have 8 active men today, they had to sign Isaiah Mobley either early, I forget exactly what timing was. It was either late last night or early this morning, just so they had 8 active players to field a lineup today. That was one of the reasons as well when it came to somebody like Quentin Grimes, is like, boy, if he is out, then it starts to look pretty weird here, because then they would only have 7 active players. So something else that we should take note of is if that 76ers starting lineup comes out and Quentin Grimes isn't in it, it probably means that Quentin Grimes isn't playing today and he's just active, so they have 8 players to be able to field an active roster. So one other thing that I think for today, because there's so much risk with guys who aren't starting, I don't want to prioritize anybody who's coming off the bench today. Anybody who's not in the starting lineup is live to play 0 minutes. Do you feel any differently about that?
Yeah, I don't feel any different than that. I think what you said is like 100% exactly the case that we're looking at for it. I mean, there's going to be guys who are in starting lineups, though, that also play like 12 minutes. Like, that's going to be a thing that occurs with some of these pieces. Like Orlando. This starting lineup for Orlando is got Wendell Carter Jr. in it. Like, how many minutes is Wendell Carter Jr. live to play, Greg? What would you put his range of outcomes at? I would legitimately set it from like 12 to 28.
Let's see. So Wendell Carter Jr., I want to see how many players Orlando actually has active for today. And they haven't listed. Oh, they have listed a starting lineup. All right. So the starters:
Anthony Black, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Tristan Da Silva, Jonathan Isaac, who we know is always somewhat capped in terms of minutes, and then Wendell Carter Jr. And you know, when you've got Goga Bitadze, who was like the chalk du jour, ended up winning by 50 against Indy as 6.5-point dogs at close. That was just the wildest thing on Friday. But I think Wendell Carter Jr. is somebody we've got for 25 minutes. And obviously that's not putting him well into the atmosphere here, but like there's volatility even to that. And like, I don't know, there's just so many guys like this that exist on this slate. And you could have 4 1% guys who end up in your lineup who all, you know, completely put up duds or completely smash a slate. Like there's just so much volatility to this. So yeah, there's a lot of game theory that's going to go into this slate as well.
Yeah. And the good news is some of the guys, like you just mentioned, Wendell Carter Jr., well, guess what? I have him in 0% of lineups, even though we have him projected for 25 minutes. So totally cool with me. If he plays, 12 minutes, wouldn't be any kind of, wouldn't be any sweat off my back if that ends up being the case here. No. Let's see if there was any other kind of pressing questions here, which there are not at the moment in YouTube. We do have a question from Steven Leibowitz. He has a question. He says, why are we killing ourselves on this slate? I don't know about you. I'm not killing myself. I'm just sitting here talking about it for a little bit. It's not, I'm not, roofing in 130-degree weather or anything like that. I'm talking about, idiots playing basketball that we're never going to see play basketball again. It's far from death.
Yeah. I mean, like life could actually be way, way worse than it is right now. I mean, there's things to make money on. We gotta try to make money on them. And obviously you'll have MLB half an hour after this. So we'll watch a sport where it's still got stakes and implications and things today. This first wave of games doesn't really have that, other than people maybe playing for careers or playing for their opportunity to progress in the NBA or just exist in the NBA atmosphere in some capacity. But Wendell Carter Jr., not one of those people, but it's more of just like, why is he playing? Why is he starting? What's going on? Banchero, Franz Wagner sitting in this one. Sometimes it's like, hey, let's run out like what our second unit could look like, play a couple of rotations of it. Just, it's better than in-game scrimmage against each other every day like we've done for months and months and months. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff that we're up against here. But we've got some guys that I think are going to play massive minutes. I mean, you brought up Philly too. If Grimes isn't in that starting lineup, Like how much Jared Butler is too much Jared Butler? How much Lonnie Walker is too much Lonnie Walker? Like these are such important things. JT Thor out actually matters. Actually matters.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So no JT Thor. All right. So if we look at all of the different possible ways that rotations could go there. So for Washington's situation is, I want to make sure I've got all the players I could read off who are active. A lot of teams are only running 8 active guys today. So we've got for Washington, Vukcevic, Sarr, Champagnie, Carrington, Colby Jones, AJ Johnson. How of all the names I fucked up, is that the one right there? AJ Johnson, Keyshawn George, and then Marcus Smart. So Marcus Smart is active today. I don't think he plays, though. I think it's just so they could fill out the 8-man rotation. Maybe they give him like a few minutes or something like that. But to your point about JT Thor being out, the only big men that Washington has available are Vukcevic and Sarr. Maybe they start them alongside each other. That would be something that's interesting. But I do think that the front court minutes are shored up for Vukcevic in a way that we don't always see from them.
Yeah, I'm playing his 22.5 PRA as we speak. I just don't see a world where Marcus Smart plays enough minutes to rip away from the guards. I think so. Obviously, all of those guards are interesting as well. But you brought it up. I mean, we've seen Sarr Vucevic lineups. We've seen Vucevic Holmes lineups. We've seen that at times because of shorthandedness. And now it does matter. Now it's Miami on the other side. It's not your normal Miami people. Quentin Grimes available to play. So just put him in your lineups and don't think about it as long as he's starting. I definitely think Washington just got a lot more interesting. I mean, Sarr could play the first half, not play the second half. You could see Vucevic, somebody that is a great fantasy producer. If he plays 26 minutes like last time out, there's a world where, I mean, I don't even bring up, we haven't even said a player's salary yet the entire show, which I find to be pretty interesting. 12 minutes. They don't matter. They don't matter at all. They just don't matter. So I'm looking for as many minutes as possible for as many fantasy, like good fantasy point per minute guys as possible. And like, if there's a world where 28 minutes occurs for Vucevic, I would really, really be hard pressed not to take a lot of shots on him in multiple lineups. But playing one lineup, we'll see if he ends up making it in the end.
We have a couple of confirmed starting lineups. Want to give those to you guys because we do have 2. Gary Trent just ruled out. Here are the starting lineups we have that are confirmed. We have the Pacers: Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, Jarius Walker, Obi Toppin, and Miles Turner. Miles Turner, another weird one to be playing today. But that's the starting 5 for the Pacers. We have the Magic starting lineup: Anthony Black, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Also super fucking weird that KCP is playing today.
Yeah.
Tristan Da Silva, Jonathan Isaac, and Wendell Carter Jr. Somewhat weird that Jonathan Isaac is playing. Very weird that Wendell Carter Jr. is playing, to your point before. I have no clue why KCP is playing. That one is totally bizarre to me. At the very least, like, why is he starting? He can't just be, an inactive sort of guy. Orlando actually has more than 8 guys available to them. We have overall, so it's Wendell Carter Jr., Anthony Black, Tristan Da Silva, Cole Anthony, Jonathan Isaac, KCP, Goga Bitadze, Caleb Houston, Jet Howard, Gary Harris. So the Magic actually have 10 active bodies for today. I think the minutes are going to be very spread out, which is kind of what we've touched on when it comes to Orlando.
Yeah, I think so too. Again, it's just like alarm bells going off when somebody like that is in the lineup and it's trying to figure out what the hell do you do with him or anybody else there. Jonathan Isaac, throughout the entire season, I mean, they just haven't given him more run than like 20 minutes. It's been forever. I think he had a stretch there back in November where he was playing north of 20 minutes. He played 27 was his high point back in January 12th. There it is. But otherwise, he's just a guy that you can't really play today. And you wouldn't play even if you saw him, as the lone guy that is in the rotation as a starter. But Wendell Carter Jr. is just so weird, mucks up the entire thing. Cole Anthony, I think there's enough offense that he does that they're not going to give him more than the 22 minutes here coming off the bench. And Anthony Black, Trevelin Queen, who, just went berserk in 30 minutes last time out. I don't want to take shots of guys off the bench.
Queen's out today, by the way.
Oh, he is? Okay. He's not even listed on. Is that there? Okay.
He's inactive, I believe.
Okay, good. didn't see. Yeah, Gary Harris being there, Cole Anthony. Yeah, it's just not a team that we're going to be talking about at all.
Yeah, let me double check the Orlando Magic injury report. Not listed on the injury report, but yeah, I do know that they have him otherwise listed as inactive. We have him out of our projections. So we'll see if we get further confirmation on that as we go here. Let's talk about the guys who we actually are prioritizing. In terms like as of right now, things could change as we get more starting lineups. I've got our projections on screen here. And these are our top projected players by just raw fantasy points. Quentin Grimes leading the slate, 40.5 fantasy points. We got Pritchard at 38, Cam Payne 37, Craig Porter Jr. 35 and change, Champagnie 35 and change, Bona 35 and change. And we also got Jaime Jaquez, Anthony Black, the other players who are projected for north of 35 fantasy points here. Who are the ones that you are looking to play who are going to be more like staple sort of options? Because if you do look at our projections here, you know, these are the ones who are projected well. And then also the ownership, super high on a lot of these guys. 97% was the last ownership run on Peyton Pritchard, 82% on Quentin Grimes. Who are the staple options that, as we know right now with the way things stand, you look at as somebody who like, all right, this is somebody who is going to be a core part of my lineups for today?
Yeah, Pritchard, Grimes, Achua, and Porter Jr. Justin Champagnie, I think, is definitely in that conversation now as well. With Washington losing another piece there, Tristan Vucevic, I think, is very interesting as like a pivot off of him specifically. Like, not positionality, but just if you're not going to play Justin Champagnie in a lineup, how does it work out for somebody else? It's probably Vooch playing the 4 alongside some iterations with Alex Sarr, or just by himself at the 5 where he'll demolish a Miami front court that's not going to play anybody. I got to think Craig Porter Jr. is probably the least of like the locky types there, but we've got him for 36 minutes. He's a fantasy point per minute guy. And you know, while there's no extension for those minutes, I mean, you just look at raw fantasy points. Brought that up on the onset. You just brought it up now. Anybody who's projected for 35 fantasy points or around that number or above, I think they just immediately warrant like 25, 30% consideration minimum. And he's the one who's sitting there with the lowest ownership out of that entire grouping. Yeah, because Pritchard and Grimes are sitting there, point guard, shooting guard. You should be able to get 2 more of those guards, I think, into your lineups. Jaime Jaquez is definitely popping on the Miami side here too. Terry Rozier could play a ton here as well because they just have had him out of the rotation. So I go a little bit further down. My Nuke of the night will be in Atlanta, Nuke of the night. So very much looking forward to that one. But I think my core pieces of the lineup right now, it's hard to go into this slate if you're playing single entry to not have Pritchard and Grimes in it. I think Achua definitely probably now is in it. Justin Champagnie is much more viable and probably, you know, borderline on that conversation with those 3 now that you get JT throw out. But yeah, those are kind of the core guys. They're pulling the most ownership. They should be pulling the most ownership.
And we did just get an update to projections and ownership a couple of minutes ago. So here's what we were looking at for the chalkiest of chalk options on the slate. Peyton Pritchard, 98% owned now. Quentin Grimes, 89% owned. Vooch. We've got Vooch at 69% ownership. Precious Achiuwa, 66%. Champagnie, 65%. Of all of those guys who are uber popular, are any of them not warranted in your opinion?
I have Vooch in my lineup, and now I'm considering not. Mainly because, I mean, the minutes, I think, have such a downside for him. Look at everybody else's minutes that we've got projected. Pritchard, Grimes, Achiuwa, Champagnie. They're all blanketing 35-plus minutes there. Peyton Pritchard, 30, but we know what he does. Absent everybody else, he chucks, he creates, he does all of the things on the basketball floor. So his fantasy point per minute rate up there at 1.4. But, like, Vooch is pulling a ton of ownership now. A ton of ownership. He is... I mean, I had him in my lineup. That update freaks the shit out of me. Look at his negative leverage score. Negative 45% coming in on Vooch now. I mean, I got to get away from that. And as soon as you said Vooch, I was like, wait, what? And updated it. That freaks me out a lot because, again, I thought he was kind of like a nice play in the mid-range. You get DeRozan and Levine and Ball and Giddy and everybody off the floor, and he's just outrageous. But, there's such a minutes downside to him where there just are a lot of centers where we're not going to have that complaint. So I think I'm going to probably get away from this now.
Yeah, so I am looking at rerunning Sims now, but the last run I did, like I had a good chunk of Vooch, but nowhere near the field. I had him in 40% of lineups. So if I have him in 40% of lineups and he's nearly 70% owned, that's pretty dramatically undercutting the field. So I look at all these other chalk options, and he just immediately stands out as the guy who's most overowned, considering what we know right now. And also to what you said, we're trying to prioritize minutes. And I think it's weird Vooch is even playing at all today. Like, why run him out there for any kind of significant run? So we only have him projected for 24 minutes. We've got Grimes for 35 minutes. We've got Pritchard for 30 minutes. We've got Achua for 35 minutes. We've got 38 minutes going to Champagny. So one of these things is not like the other. All these other chalk options, we feel at least relatively secure in their roles, with there being 40 minutes to go into lock here. Vooch is the one who we have projected for lower minutes. Now, obviously, we still have him projected at least fairly decently in 24 minutes. He still comes out at 32.77 fantasy points relative to this slate. That's not all that bad. But the 24 minutes, like, you could easily see him play 10 minutes. He could play 15, considering what the ownership is. If he was only 20% owned, I would want to be playing him well overweight to the field. It's like, hey, I want to take a shot on him because he's a good fantasy producer. But if he's going to be this popular and project for 24 minutes, that's going to be somebody who I want to be underweight to.
Yep, it sucks because now I have to redo my one lineup, Greg. I don't want to do that, but here we are. Knew it was going to happen at some point. It happened earlier than I wanted to, but yeah, Vooch pulling that kind of ownership, I just have to get away from and live with the result of it. Is it warranted if he plays 28 minutes at that rate? Yes. 24, getting one half of basketball, meaningless game. There's just such a downside, I think, at playing a guy who's going to be pulling that much ownership. It just common sense DFS.
Yep. And I am rerunning everything. I assume that now his ownership has come up. That likely means I'm going to get to a little bit less of Vooch than I had before, but we'll see. We'll see when I end up rerunning everything right here. This time of year, Eric, there is something that I think is more important for a strategy than any other point in the year. Do you know what that is?
What is that, Greg?
There's never been a slate where you have so many to choose from, but that's the situation we find ourselves in the final slate of the NBA regular season. And some of these ones we honestly don't even know. But Eric, this is of the utmost importance. Who is the exotic play of the night? We could even do like tiers of this. We could do exotic play of the night at each position. We could do our favorite pay up, although that would just kind of end up being like Peyton Pritchard by default. So Eric, there are so many different ways. This is our time. This is our time of season. The games don't matter. Teams have got the backups in. You got the water boy playing. Who's the exotic play of the night? Well, I guess of the afternoon.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say there's actually, I think, more intriguing afternoon exotics. I mean, the obvious one's Peyton Pritchard. I mean, that's the low hanging piece of fruit. It's just impossible to build a lineup without him today. He's playing eternal amount of minutes no matter what, because he doesn't matter as much as people think he might for a guy who's going to win 6th man of the year. It's also a good way for him to kind of exercise some flexibility in case something does happen to one Jaylen Brown, to Jason Tatum, where it's just like, oh, Peyton Pritchard playing with the ball in his hands, going out creating, going out chucking, shooting 15 threes in this game. Like, he's just your obvious one. I'm curious if you don't go to him, who your second favorite is, because like, I think it's probably Baylor Shireman, but like, I don't know. It doesn't feel right either. Sam Hauser, just don't think he's going to play enough minutes. He might actually matter more to playoff rotations for Boston than Pritchard can, because he can stay on the floor with size. But curious who you're going to go roll out in this spot.
Yeah, so for myself, Boy, checking his background. All right. So I'm going to go with Jaime Jaquez Jr. here because you look at what Miami's rotations have become over the last few weeks, where it's pretty clear Jaquez just kind of fallen out of the mix. But this is kind of the time where you have players who maybe were part at one point, they were important to the rotation. They aren't anymore. That I think you just see them play a bigger role and take on a bigger opportunity here. Jaime Jaquez Jr., we've got him projected for only 14% ownership, but we do have him projected for 32 minutes here, Eric. He's somebody who I'm getting pretty well overweight to in my run of lineups, and I think this is where Miami is going to dust off all of the dusty guys who used to be important to this team but just aren't anymore. Terry Rozier is getting run today. Jaime Jaquez is getting run. I think Khalil Ware, some of his run, that's going to come back. Haywood Highsmith, he used to start for them for a while at one point. He's going to get run today. That's how I think Miami is going to run the rotation today. All the guys who are not important to them that used to be, not these guys are like massively important, like Jaquez and Rozier, but guys who are part of the rotation that aren't anymore, I think this is going to be their time to get some extended run and potentially earn themselves a contract with another team next year.
Justin Edwards, we expected to be out, right?
Let's see. I'm fairly sure, but I'll double check. Let's see. Justin Edwards. Yeah, we had him out.
Okay, because they now have Isaiah Mobley, Jalen Hood-Schifino, Ricky Council. Those are the only guys off the bench still.
We don't know the starting lineup yet.
Right. If Grimes isn't in it, obviously we should all just break our computers and start over. But
yes,
I don't know what you do other than find a way to play a Philly guy, and you're just playing Grimes right now. Bona, like I don't know. There's some ways I think of getting away from him in this spot, but just such a weird team here because it's like they're still going to find ways to get Butler off the floor for Jalen Hood-Schifino. Ricky Council was like a real thing for many slates, and now it's just interchangeable with Marcus Bagley. How much Lonnie Walker are you getting to? Because this is the guy I think I'm having the toughest time figuring out what I want to do with.
All right, so I'm rerunning everything right now, but I could check my last run and let you know what I was at for Lonnie Walker. Actually, no, I can't because I have the sim running right here. I will let you know in a second what I have of Lonnie Walker because I'm just updating everything with the most recent run of ownership and projection that we have here. So things could end up changing. It's funny. I keep running sims, which is mainly to give me, talking points for the guys who are projecting the best relative to ownership and whatnot. But it's constantly changing. Like we're going to get starting lineups in 10, 15 minutes. They're going to have some really weird shit in it. Then everything's going to change again. But right now for Lonnie Walker, we have him in for 31 minutes, 30 fantasy points. We do have him as being well overowned. We have him with 44% ownership and a 12.86% optimal rate. I do know that he wasn't one of my most rostered players at the top of my board on the last run that I did, but I'll see after updating everything what comes through.
It's just so thin with 8 guys there. And I mean, that's the Bona thing where it's like, if Vooch is off the floor and they go to Zach Collins and it's like, can they have Ricky Council out there at the 5? Not really. I don't know. Isaiah Mobley obviously played a little 5, but like, I don't want to discount entirely other guys that aren't Quentin Grimes from Philly. And that's where like Lonnie Walker, I'm pretty confident our data is dead on there. Like, I think he's going to be overowned. People have been clicking on him and it has been working out for quite some time. Our boy Eitan Shander out there putting together Lonnie Walker 3-point ladders and just running it up to the moon against Miami, 6 for 13 there. But now that dip, 29, 24 minutes the last 2, there's a definite downside now that there's other interchangeable guys like there and Grimes isn't like, I don't know. It just feels like one of those spots where with only 8 guys, I still feel like I want to roll out some, but playing one lineup at the moment, that's not going to happen if I just don't click on his name. So I'm having a tough time figuring out what I want to do with him. And then let's talk Knicks as well. Outside of Precious Achiuwa, do you have any interest in anybody else? Because like Miles McBride is at least very interesting to me.
Yeah, so you see here what we got for the New York Knicks on our last run of data. And the only player who's pulling ownership is Precious Achiuwa. Precious expected for 66% ownership. Everybody else on the team, unowned, 2% ownership going to Miles McBride, 2% ownership going to Campaign. We've got Mikal Bridges, who this is going to be like an honorary game for him. He basically never sits out at all, ever. There was actually a season where Bridges played 83 games in a season because he got traded from the Suns to the Nets. And that was also when there was just like a discrepancy in the amount of games that the teams had played at that point. So he is the very rare player who plays more than the 82 games that exist on occasion. So Bridges, I assume he gets like a rotation or two and then is going to be done for the day. I actually do find it pretty hard to want to be too interested in anybody from the Knicks who's going to be normally part of the rotation. If I'm going to take a chance on somebody who's not pulling ownership, I'm more apt to go to Campaign than Miles McBride. The price point, like, doesn't matter. You and I have discussed salaries. Basically, it's a made up number. You could play whoever the hell you want. We're leaving, thousands of dollars in salary on the table. So the price difference doesn't actually make all that much of a difference. We do have Campaign project for more fantasy points than McBride, 31.74 compared to 30.32. Campaign is the better fantasy producer of the two on a per minute rate. Campaign's actually an excellent fantasy producer. Look at our projection. 1.21 fantasy points per minute. 1.21. 1.03 for McBride. Between the two of them, neither of them are pulling ownership. I'm more apt to go to Campaign, who is the better fantasy producer. And I also think could potentially play more minutes because McBride is normally a part of the Knicks rotation, whereas Campaign kind of isn't.
Refresh that. We got an update that I'm seeing 35 and change for McBride now.
Another update. All right, let's see.
I think so. I keep refreshing it, unless it's just not refreshing on my end, but I just refreshed it. Now he's at 35 and change, which kind of like set the wheels in motion.
I think you're looking at an old, like this is an update from a couple minutes ago.
Okay. I'm looking at it on DK. Like what in the world is wrong on my end that I'm getting just such a different projection on Miles McBride, 35.3. I have no clue what's going on right now.
Let's see. Maybe it isn't updated in the data hub yet, but it is updated on the projections page. This happened on the MLB show yesterday as well, where there was a difference in the projection on Jacob deGrom. So it could be that same sort of thing. Let me go to the projections page. Is that what you're looking at?
Yes.
All right, let's look at the projections page. See what is showing over there.
Just want to make sure. Do my due diligence, because 35 and 30 are two different things and two different ways to go about this. I mean, we're talking about one of the guys who I'm going to absolutely click on or somebody that I'm absolutely not. Good old McBride.
Yeah, we do have him project for 35.3 fantasy points here. But then in the data hub, showing up. Now it's showing up at 35.3. That's weird.
Just making sure. I'm just doing my due diligence here, trying to make sure that we've got this covered, because I mean, we're talking about somebody I absolutely want to play in that one lineup. And then somebody that I wouldn't really want to play at 30, or if there was like more of a pronounced minutes downside. But like this is the main reason that I ask, is that I'm kind of correlating Precious Achiuwa and Miles McBride playing more because they're actually rotation pieces. But we know Tibbs, once you get to playoffs, Karl Anthony Towns will play 44 minutes. You're going to get Hart potentially playing 48, McBride playing 42, or not McBride, sorry, Bridges playing 42, Brunson playing 44. Like they aren't your typical rotation pieces outside of it. But like, I really like the idea of playing McBride and Achiuwa in the same lineup, because then if you're getting 35, 36 from Achiuwa, the chances of McBride getting 35 or 36 are that much greater. If you get a downside where it's like, 28 for one, 28 for the other, like I really don't have any desire to be going that direction. Obviously if I were playing two lineups, I would have one where I just played both of them together and then one where I didn't play either of them together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't have any issue with that. By the way, we're starting to get starting lineups trickling in. So I want to read these off to you guys, because we now have starting lineups for the Celtics: Peyton Pritchard, Shireman, Hauser, Craig, and Cornett. For the Cavs, Craig Porter Jr., Hunter Tyson, Green, Naquan Tomlin.
What?
Right on your bingo card?
What?
Jared Allen.
Who did you just say? What?
I am Naquan Tomlin.
That's not a person.
He is, and we have him projected quite well. As we've got Tomlin projected for 25 fantasy points.
Oh my God, that's like the Key and Peele skit naming football players. That's not real.
It is.
I don't know who that is at all, and that's so frustrating. I do this for a job.
We should have some of these teams, just to fuck with people, should put out a player who's not actually on the roster and just be like, hey, we've got Jesus Shuttleworth starting at shooting guard today. None of us would know the difference. They could put whoever they want and tweet it out. We wouldn't know. We've got, for the Heat, Davion Mitchell, Duncan Robinson, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Haywood Highsmith, and Khalil Ware. The Hawks are starting Wallace, Mann, Risa Shea, Barlow, and Gay. The 76ers, we do have Quentin Grimes confirmed starting, Butler, Grimes, Walker, Marcus Bagley, and Adem Bona. Want to make it very clear that it is Marcus Bagley and not Marvin Bagley. I think there are a lot of people who have been playing Marcus Bagley not knowing he isn't Marvin Bagley. The thing that kind of tipped me off to that is Josh and I were doing live before lock the first game that Marcus Bagley started, and we're talking about that we have him projected like 0.72 fantasy points per minute or something that day, and people in chat were like, how Bagley's always been a decent fantasy producer. And I realized like, oh, people think this is a different Bagley than the one that's here. But anyway, it is Marcus Bagley starting a power forward for the 76ers. The Hornets starting lineup, Simpsons, Jeffries, Okogie, Salon, and Nurkic. And then the Nets starting lineup, Martin, Keon Johnson, Jalen Wilson, Trenton Watford, and Nick Claxton. And we've got, here's a few more that are rolling in right now. The Bucks. We've got Bouye, Connaughton, AJ Green, Kuzma, Nance. All right, so there's your starting five for the Milwaukee Bucks. The Wizards starting lineup, Carrington, AJ Johnson, Justin Champagnie, George, and Sarr. So Vukcevic is going to be coming off the bench. They're not going with the two of them together in the front court. And then the Bulls starting lineup, White, Herter, Phillips, Buzelis, Vucevic. I know I just read off a lot of names to you, a lot of different starting lineups. Is there anything in particular that stands out the most to you about these starting units?
Yeah, we got Pritchard starting. That was good confirmation. Grimes starting, good confirmation. Both of those things just solidify them as like, if you make me play chalk on this slate, you click on those two. I think there's a world you can get away from Precious Achiuwa and Miles McBride if you really want to. I'm playing both of them. I talked through the correlation element of both of them being on the floor together for excess minutes or potentially having downside to the minutes together. Let's see. The other one, Jaime Jaquez, we got confirmation he is starting. So obviously that is something that mattered to me a lot here as well. Going through everything here, just going through each one of these. Yeah, I mean, it's weird to say this, but like, I think pretty much everything is coming the way we would expect outside of like I didn't really care that Holland was going to end up starting for the Pistons. Jamari Bouye, what are we doing? What are we actually doing with our lives? So cool. I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. So
got him projected for 27 fantasy points.
You said. That's what you said. I need to know this.
No, I know. I'm pulling because we just got a projections update. So I'm checking to see what it is we have some of these guys in for. And yeah, we gave Bouye 30 minutes. That ends up with him being projected for 27 fantasy points. I don't think it's going to make him massively important to the slate. Almost any other slate of the year, somebody who's min price and is 27 fantasy points, like, oh my God, you can't get away from him. He'll show up in some lineups. I don't think he's going to be like massively important or anything like that, because there's a lot of guys we have projected for north of 30 fantasy points who are 3K or close to 3K. So I don't think Bouye is going to show up that frequently.
No, nor should he. Good Lord Almighty. This is just fun. But anyway, we've got the Jaquez piece starting. That's good. Porter Jr. and Tyson starting. Naquan Tomlin, not going to make the cut for me. But yeah, Porter Jr. and Tyson, nice to get them in there to be potential guys to be out there. Maybe the Celtics decide Peyton Pritchard just isn't going to play infinity minutes. But again, I just don't see any reason that they don't want to do that. And I think it's good to exercise him in control of the basketball floor on the offensive end for an entire game and see what that looks like. You never know what happens injury-wise come playoff time. And it's good to get some of those reps in real life rather than just, being the second unit guy who's out there chucking against Tatum and Brown in practice. But Shireman, I think there's a world you could get to some of him. I'm not going to play him in one lineup and one lineup only. Confirmation on everything, though. Quentin Grimes and all the Philly players are somewhat in play for me. And now, we just got the Knicks starting lineup, too.
All right. And the Knicks starters are... Let's see. What are the Knicks starters? Looking in Discord.
We got McBride, Payne, Bridges, Tucker, Achua.
Okay. All right. So it does make me feel better about McBride. Certainly, Achua is already somebody we're getting to a lot. Feel more solidified in that as well as somebody who we're going to want to be getting to. So we do have that Knicks starting lineup there for us. Thank you, Eric. Let's see what other questions we have via the super chats here. We've got a couple of them, so read them off, and then it'll be the final nuke of the night of the NBA regular season. So also, if you guys haven't done yet, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you do want to sign up for any of the packages that we have here at Stokastic, we do still have our link join program. So if you guys want to sign up for any of the affiliate partners on screen, plus NoVig is also now on that link down below in the YouTube description box. We don't have them in the graphic yet, but any of these partners that you guys sign up for, you get 1 free month of core access. So if you wanted to sign up for 2 of these, that's going to take you through pretty much the entirety of the NBA playoffs. So 1, and you're going to get access to our tools for the bulk of the bigger slates of the NBA playoffs. If you want to sign up for 1 month of MLB, 1 month of NBA, you could pick and choose which sport it is you want to sign up for, because this is viable for any of the packages that we cover for DFS over on the site. Link down below in the YouTube description box. Super chats. Sam Van Dam, any good player props to suggest for today? Eric, are there any particular player props that you were liking for this slate?
Yeah, we're going to talk about the nuke of the night, who I told you before the show, and somebody guessed in chat. I don't like that. And then Jalen Tyson, over 25.5 PRA, I like. Also like he's over 14.5 points. I bet that over on Profit X. That was sitting really, really nice this morning. And then the other one I had was Craig Porter Jr. over 6.5 assists. Ended up getting it at plus 114. It is now minus 184. That's a line move. That is closing line value, as the kids might call it. So yeah, those are the main ones right now.
Let's see what we have in Portfolio EV. This time of year, there aren't that many props that get posted by books. So that does sometimes muddy the waters a little bit. Here's one that we have at the top of the board, though. Scotty Barnes over 4.5 assists. The Raptors have been kind of weird with giving Barnes not like regular minutes, but he's played more minutes than you would think at this point in the season. And with other guys out for the team, 4.5 assists when it's plus money on the over. Plus 145 is the best available line. I'm actually going to bet that right now as we're talking. So I think that makes sense. Scotty Barnes over 4.5 assists at plus money. And what else? TJ McConnell under 12.5 points at minus 110. That is something else that is also projecting fairly well at the moment. It was one that was available earlier in the day as well at plus money. TJ McConnell under 12.5 points, but still showing up as plus EV at minus 110. So there's a couple from the tools and data that we have on the site. And then Michael Wallace, he is asking us a couple of different comparisons here. First one, Eric, Bona or Ware? Who's your preference between the two?
Bona.
That is going to be Bona for myself as well. And we do have projections and ownership now updated. We've got Bona in for 35 fantasy points. We've got Ware in for 34.95. It's very close between the two, but we do have Bona projected slightly better, whereas Ware is projected for a little bit more ownership. So I think Bona makes sense from that standpoint. Both of them, though, are definitely viable options. And then he's asking us Anthony Black or Porter Jr. I assume he means Craig Porter Jr., which, yeah, would make sense because of some of the ownership going to Craig Porter Jr. in his projection. Eric, Craig Porter Jr., Anthony Black, who's your preferred option of those two?
Craig Porter Jr.
We've got Craig Porter Jr. in for 36.41 fantasy points. We've got Black for 34.09. So, yeah, nearly 3 fantasy point gap separating them. I'm going to have to lean towards Craig Porter Jr., who is also showing up in more lineups for me out of the two. From Discord, were there any outstanding questions there? There are not. So, with that in mind, Eric, you know what time it is?
No.
Okay, Eric, we are setting ourselves up by failure, really for talking about this slate at all, but now even more so by marrying ourselves to one of the morons that we're going to be playing today. So with that in mind, Eric, for the final time of the regular season, as if we're not, this isn't going to be something we're doing again in 2 days, who's the nuke of the night today?
So some people like to say mean things in chat, just, be very rude. Love is love, people. Love is love. And I am feeling more gay than I've ever felt before. It is time, baby. It is Mo Gay season. I don't understand how you don't want to play this guy. First off, he's been in like starting units and then just gets ripped off the floor when things actually matter. Guess what? Today doesn't matter. So we're looking for good fantasy producers in good circumstances who are going to go out and get us Mo buckets. And Mo buckets are coming from Mo Gay. Fire it up, 20.5 points plus rebounds. I love as well from the prop world, something I fired up really early this morning. But I just don't see how, he gets ripped off the floor here, starting alongside Barlow and Risache, who shouldn't play that much at all. Terrence Mann, who shouldn't play all that much at all. But there's no Daniels, no Levert, no Trey Young, no Okongwu, no Capella. I mean, you're just going to get Gay and Barlow playing the 5 exclusively. This like entire game. You're probably going to get away and go towards Risache for very minimal minutes. I mean, there is such a minutes upside for Mo Gay, who's over a fantasy point per minute guy. And it's not your typical Orlando Magic. We saw that against Indy. They went out and run and gunned, and it was lovely to watch. So we are going to Mohamed Gay.
All right. I've got one at very, very low ownership here for myself as well. A 1% owned Marcus Sasser. So if we look at the Detroit Pistons and what it is that they have for us today, it is a lot of the normal guys are not going to be active. So let me go to the Pistons and read off their available players. All right, here's what we got for Detroit. Isaiah Stewart's out. Kate Cunningham's out. Jaden Ivey, who apparently is nearing a return, but he's going to be out at least for today. Asar Thompson also out. So then you start to figure like, all right, who do the Pistons actually want to give extended run to? And I think Marcus Sasser could very much be one of those guys. Like, I don't think Tobias Harris is going to play much today. I don't think Beasley plays much. I don't think Tim Hardaway is going to play much for Detroit either. I don't think Jalen Duren is going to play very much. They have him available as well. I think they're going to be giving bigger minutes to Sasser, Ron Holland, the rest of the guys, like whatever. They can do whatever they want with the minutes. But I think Ron Holland and Marcus Sasser, as young guys who the Pistons used draft capital on in each of the last couple of years, are guys that this is the time you want to give them extended minutes. So I like Marcus Sasser at 1% ownership as my nuke of the night.
Look at that. A 1%er from the top rope, finishing it out, and Eric picking Mo Gay. I mean, nothing could be more perfect than that. Congratulations, everyone.
There we have it. That is the final nuke of the night of the regular season. And we don't even have all these starting lineups yet. So, nope. I mean, this is just going to be chaos. I'm just going to run Sims and, if we get another update, then, obviously I'll be updating for that. But for right now, I've just kind of got to run what may be the final sim run before the slate starts. There's no way to get this perfect anyway. There's no scenario where I can look at this and be like, this is going to be perfect. So it just kind of is what it is. Going to be running the sims right now for what may be the final time on the show. Bobby B's left us a super chat. He wants to know Kuzma or Buzelis for last man in, Eric.
Neither.
Probably neither. Between the two, I prefer Buzelis. Like, why? Kuzma is actually a part of the Bucks rotation. Why is he going to be playing bigger minutes? That's not to say Buzelis isn't a part of the Bulls rotation, but he's a rookie. He was a first-round pick. And then also, he has at times played bigger minutes as of late. But if you go back to like a couple weeks ago, it's not like he was regularly playing big minutes, but more so because of what the age of the players are. I think Buzelis is more apt to get extended minutes than Kuzma.
Yeah, my main thing is like, there is no path to 32 plus minutes for either. Like, I just don't see it. It would be coaching incompetence at its finest. And you know what, Greg? If there was one that was going to be that incompetent, it would be Doc Rivers. So I'll at least go to Kyle Kuzma because Doc Rivers is his basketball coach.
How dare you call him that name? I don't know who this character is. Glenn Rivers.
Glenn Rivers. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Don't try to put actual value to his MD. He doesn't. No. He's no doctor. Let's see if there's anything else that came into Discord, which no, there is not. So I am running the Sims. Like I said, that should be done running in like 10 seconds or so here. Starting lineups. Which teams haven't released a starting lineup yet?
We are waiting on nope. I've got every starting lineup for the early window games, obviously. Yeah. Well, which team are you looking for? I've got them all.
Oh, here we go. So we've got the the Hawks starting lineup confirmed. I think we read that one off before. I just thought there was a chance we didn't have one of them here.
Brooklyn, we've Johnson, got Martin, Wilson, Watford, Claxton, Detroit. Yeah, we got everything.
By the way, so Detroit's starting lineup, because we hadn't read this one off yet. Sasser, Holland, Hardaway, Harris, and Duren. That was something else that made me feel better about Marcus Sasser, just him starting at point guard. I do think that he stands to play some extended minutes. And at 1% ownership, I've got him in ownership in the teens in my lineups right now. The only thing that kind of makes it harder to get to more of him than that is just how many lineups he's actually in the contest pool, or else I would have more than what I have, but just kind of limited based on that. So I've got my lineups all done here, and I'm looking through. There is one player who I landed on quite a bit more than the field, who's pulling lower ownership. And that, for me, Eric, I'm actually really interested in this. All right, look at the Bulls.
Oh,
look at the Bulls.
Are we getting real frisky with it? Kevin Huerter?
Not really. Okay. But this, to me, the scenario for Vooch and Kobe White is more or less the same in terms of like, we don't know what the minutes are going to be or what the roles will be. Why is Vooch 44% owned and why is Kobe White 13% owned? Like, I would just, so I'm getting myself overweight to the field on Kobe White and then underweight to the field on Vooch. I just view them as the same play, just one of them as a fourth of the ownership.
Cade Cunningham is now questionable to play.
What are we doing here?
What are we actually doing with our lives? What are we doing? I just reran it. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go Sasser with Greg. And now Cade Cunningham is potentially going to play like 15 minutes fucking around today just because why not? Also, back to the Kobe White thing, because I do want to address the question at hand because I know sometimes I get off topic. Kobe White and Vooch, I think, put them in the same bucket as playing Precious Achiuwa and McBride together, where I think you can.
Where did you see the Cunningham's questionable, by the way?
It just Underdog. Now listed questionable for Sunday.
Let's see. I don't see that.
It just came through.
I don't see it.
It was just posted by Underdog.
Sure it wasn't like a fake Underdog?
No. Nope.
Does anybody else see that?
Out Sunday. That's so weird. It just came through. That's an old tweet, Eric. Okay, good.
Okay, yeah. Cade Cunningham isn't. I'm fairly sure he isn't playing.
Yeah, I was going to say, I got the alert. It said now. It came into my phone, so whatever. Don't mind me. Just having fun, having a blowout for no reason. Again, we're having fun. Kobe White and Vooch, both of them playing together. I think that is very, very nice. Yeah, Eric, I've been getting weird notifications. You just read the lineup. Yeah, I know we did. All teams. I just don't want to get fined that too. It's whatever.
Careful, Eric. Fake news. You get yourself banned in these parts.
I'll ban myself and see what happens. Let's do it. I didn't get any lineups. Yeah, there was something that came through really, really late I'll ban myself. Yeah, I can do that. Hang on. Boom.
I'm being cautious to make sure that we're really bringing you guys the accurate news here. So the good news is we've got Eric is currently in timeout, which here's also something I don't like about this. Being in timeout on this slate is really more of a positive. The real punishment would be he has to stick on and cover the FanDuel slate after this.
I was going to say, I really don't want to do that.
Any more fake news from Eric, and you're going to have to cover the afternoon slate as well.
Yeah, my favorite play on the slate is Dame Lillard, who's still out with a blood clot. I mean, like, just throw out the fakest news humanly possible. Oh, my God. I said that, and now Underdog just tweeted out Dame Lillard blood clot.
Well, Shams had tweeted that out before. Okay.
Holy crap. All right. I was making a joke, and then it popped up on my screen. That was out there, though. That was a thing already. That was a thing. So we'll see if Dame comes back. It was Josh and I were talking about that on playback the other day in terms of like, who'd you rather play, the Pistons or the Bucks in the first round? And I'd said I'd rather play the Bucks unless there was a chance that Dame was going to come back. And now it looks like he is going to potentially come back. So that could be a nightmare matchup for somebody in the first round if Dame is going to be out there for the Bucks. Any final thoughts on the slate? Anything that looks way different than maybe what it was you were expecting at the top in a way that's like actionable? No, I think let's just kind of recap the slate for everybody. So I do think there's a world where we have Peyton Pritchard and Quentin Grimes where they play 32 minutes and they don't look unbelievable. But here's my main thing is that I think when you think about building your entire lineup here, it's really hard to get 8 lineup spots, right? Where every single piece of news breaks your way or all of the minutes work out the way that we have projected. It's extremely volatile. I think those are 2 pieces of chalk where I'd be surprised if they didn't play 30 minutes. And as such, I'm happy to click on them at their fantasy point per minute rates relative to other things. It's not like a typical like, oh, they're just pulling tons of ownership, I can't play them today, kind of like a DFS game theory thing. Like one of them, if you could illuminate one from the lineup, I would try to find somebody else on that team more than likely, but I don't really see it with the Celtics, so I'm just playing Pritchard. I don't really see anything for like, I do think Lonnie Walker very viable on this slate as well, but I'm just playing those 2 pieces of chalk because I think I can get different in the other spots. I like the idea of playing Achua and McBride together because they have like 10, 11 active bodies. They are very healthy for the most part, but Tibbs is an insane person. Like that's my analysis there is like Tibbs is an insane person who's going to play these dudes tons of minutes. So I like that. Cleveland, Craig Porter Jr., Jalen Tyson, we've seen them routinely just eat up usage and opportunity, and the rates look great with everybody off the floor, which we saw in the Miami game that one time. I don't really find issues with them. And then Justin Champagnie, I think, is a really good piece of chalk, another kind of like cornerstone type building block here now as well. But I'm rolling the dice on Tristan Vucevic here as well. That kind of does it for me. Anything you wanted to throw in just as far as like you still love Sasser? You still have anybody else?
Yeah, got Sasser well overweight to the field at his really low projected ownership. I mentioned Kobe White is somebody who is getting a good amount of just it makes no sense to me, this big gap in ownership between Vooch and Kobe White. One more time, look at our projection here.
Wild.
All right. Salaries don't really matter today. Positions don't matter all that much. We've got Kobe White in for 32 fantasy points. We got Vooch in for just right around 34 fantasy points. But Kobe White, 13% ownership. We've got Vooch at over 50% ownership. The optimal rate actually is slightly higher on Kobe White than it is on Vooch. That's just due to the positions that these guys play. I think I said a second ago, positions don't really matter that much. In general, they don't today, although center does because there are a lot of good center fantasy producers. So with that in mind, like I'm kind of like flipped in terms of what my exposures are versus what the field is doing, at least in our projections for Vooch and Kobe White. So that's a big one for me. Other than that, guys, you haven't done it yet. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to be away for the next week, going away. So not that much NBA. There's a slate on Tuesday, Thursday, and then Friday maybe as well for the 2-gamers. They haven't put the times out, which is really annoying for me trying to set the schedule. So hopefully we'll know those times later on today. Other than that, thank you guys very much for watching the shows over the course of the regular season. We're going to be back in 2 days, though, so whatever. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Guys, enjoy the next week. I will see you guys a week from Monday when we're going to have some actual, real, substantial, good NBA playoff slates. Really looking forward to the NBA playoffs. So see you guys there. Peace.